No, sir.
If there is a business opportunity, companies are going to explore that and they are going to bring the products from abroad. So this is what we mean by growing consumer pressures. As the incomes increase, customers will look for greater choice in the type of products and services that they want to buy, right? And that will also lead to further increase in globalization. Competition obviously is another factor, this which is tied to the consumer pressures, right? যত বেশি ফরেন কোম্পানিদেরকে অ্যালাউ করা হবে অথবা ফরেন প্রোডাক্টদেরকে অ্যালাউ করা হবে, হোয়াট উইল হ্যাপেন, এই যে সোনি আসে, স্যামসাং আসে, প্যানাসোনিক আসে, এইসব দেশের ইলেকট্রনিক্স বাংলাদেশে আসে দেখেই কিন্তু লোকাল কোম্পানিগুলি they face the push or the pressure or the competition, whatever you call it, they face that pressure to improve the quality and to decrease the price as well, right? যদি ফরেন কোম্পানিগুলি তাদের প্রোডাক্ট বাংলাদেশে না এক্সপোর্ট করতো বা বাংলাদেশে যদি না সাপ্লাই করতো, তখন কি only the local companies will exist in the market? And when
Yes, sir.
the local companies will exist in the market only, when there will not be any foreign company presence in the country, what will happen? They will have an open field, right? Will
No
the customers
competition.
have any choice তখন if the foreign companies are not allowed?
No, sir.
The
No, sir.
customers will not have any choice. That will lead to what? That will lead to higher prices, right? Why do you think যে এখন 10-15 হাজার টাকায় বা 20,000 টাকায় একটা টিভি পাওয়া যায় by the local companies, 15,000 if you go outside of Dhaka, you'll see most people are using the Bangladeshi brands of electronics, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you think যে ফরেন ব্র্যান্ডগুলি না থাকলে এই লোকাল কোম্পানিগুলি এত সস্তায় তাদের ইলেকট্রনিক্স বিক্রি করতো?
No,
এবং
sir.
it's pretty
No,
good
sir.
quality as well, right? Easily 5-6 years চলে যায় এই লোকাল কোম্পানির ফ্রিজ হোক, টিভি হোক, it's not like they are of bad quality. I've seen certain people use it and they have actually reported a pretty good experience with the local electronics. I don't know, do any of you use refrigerators or ACs or TVs from any of the local companies here?
Yes, sir. I use all of my in in my house. There are all of the electronic devices are from Walton, sir. Like
Yeah.
TV, AC,
Fridge.
freeze, then also washing machine, everything, sir.
Yes,
They
sir. I
make
have
washing
fridge.
machines as well.
Yes, sir.
Which company makes washing machine?
Walton, sir.
Walton has washing machines as well.
Yes, sir. They are
Yes,
so
sir.
good, sir. So good, sir.
Yes, sir.
Wow. এটা তো জানতাম না।
স্যার কনকাটা কি ইজ কনকা লোকাল ব্র্যান্ড?
হুম, সব কিছু। But Concord তো আর নামই শুনি না। Did they shut down? Maybe they have shut down. I don't know. I don't see them anywhere. I don't see their advertisements or their products anywhere anymore.
Sir, there is another company, sir, Vision, sir. They also produce electronics like Walton.
I know. Minister আছে, Vision আছে, Marcel, My1, Walton. There are so many of them. Right?
So there's Jomuna too, right?
কি?
Jomuna Electronics.
যমুনা ব্র্যান্ড নামেই চালায়? Do they use the brand name Jomuna?
On their electronics, yeah, I saw ACs and TVs.
Wow. Interesting. যমুনার প্রোডাক্ট তো দেখি নাই। ঢাকায় পাওয়া যায় or is it only out of Dhaka?
There is a showroom in Boshundhara Gate.
Showroom is sir. Sir, Boshundhara Gate is আছে sir. এই যমুনা ফিউচার পার্কের স্যার রাইট লেফট সাইডে স্যার।
Okay. যমুনারটা দেখি নাই। I have seen Marcel, My1, Vision, Minister, Walton, Butterfly. These are the brands I have seen. যমুনারটা দেখি নাই। Maybe I haven't been to their shop. আর যমুনা ফিউচার পার্কে আমি লাস্ট 2 বছর যাইনি তো, so probably I missed it.
Sir, Marcel and Walton are same, I think, sir.
একই কোম্পানি,
Yes, sir.
মানে একই ওনারশিপ।
Yes, sir.
Walton is doing phenomenally well. They're আরো কয়েকশো কোটি টাকার ইনভেস্টমেন্ট আনছে। they're doing so
স্যার
well.
ফরেন কান্ট্রির ইয়াগুলো থেকে যখন বাংলাদেশের লোকাল কান্ট্রিগুলো লোকাল কোম্পানিগুলো যখন নেয় আইডিয়া নেয় ওগুলো কি স্যার ইনস্পায়ার্ড বলা যাবে স্যার সেগুলোরে?
মানে these are now very basic common products, right? মানে এখন তার
ইয়েস স্যার।
like মানে 50 years back maybe you could say যে একটা টিভি বা একটা ফ্রিজ বা একটা এসি জিনিসগুলি these used to be very novel or special. Now these are মানে things which everyone have, right? So এটা আসলে it's nothing very special anymore. So obviously they bring a lot of the components and the inputs from China and other countries. সবকিছু তো আর বাংলাদেশে বানানো হয় না।
ইয়েস স্যার।
বাংলাদেশে যেটা মেইনলি হয় সেটা হচ্ছে assemble করে। They bring all the inputs from China and other countries and they assemble it here. But bike manufacturers are now the local bike manufacturers like Runner, they are actually taking steps to make the inputs in Bangladesh as well, so that the prices can be lowered even further. কারণ তারা দেখছে যে when they are bringing a lot of the inputs from China, Malaysia and other countries, that is expensive as well. So since Runner has been manufacturing bikes for quite some time here, they have understood the mechanism and how to integrate the supply chain as well, and they have claimed যে easily যে ধরনের পার্টসগুলি তারা অনেক কিছু মালয়েশিয়া থেকে আনে সেগুলি বাংলাদেশে ইজিলি ম্যানুফ্যাকচার করা যায়। So global competition is another factor which allows companies to go for greater levels of globalization as well. It leads to customer demand. Okay. And it drives or pushes the local companies to improve the quality of the products, to increase the range of products, to increase the distribution channels around the country, right? And another thing is new products nowadays become global quickly, like I mentioned last class, right? Google Classroom এমন না যে 10 বছর আগে আমেরিকাতে আসছে 10 বছর পরে বাংলাদেশে আসছে। গুগল মিট, গুগল ড্রাইভ যখন আমেরিকাতে আসছে at a similar time frame they're getting introduced all over the world, because again technology allows you to connect with people, to connect with customers around the world much more faster than it used to be 10 years back or 20 years back or 30 years back. Products now are not only made think with the thinking that this will only be for the American market. Wherever you are going to make profits, you are going to send your products. It's as simple as that. Right? বাংলাদেশের স্টুডেন্টদের বাংলাদেশি ইনস্টিটিউশনগুলির গুগল দরকার, ক্লাসরুম দরকার, ক্যানভাস দরকার, so obviously they are selling it here as well. They are not only selling to American universities or Canadian universities or Australian universities. Whoever is willing to pay for the subscription, they will sell the product to them, right? Because technology has minimized the gap in knowledge and skills around the world. Okay, so that's the thing. Our Bangladesh থেকেও এমন না যে অনেক কোম্পানি এক্সপোর্ট করে না। মানে of course we know about garments, but there are other types of products we export here as well. Pharmaceuticals, for example, Beximco Square এসব কোম্পানি কিন্তু pharmaceutical products বিদেশে এক্সপোর্ট করে, right? So wherever you get, it's like this. If there is good quality products at a reasonable price, the whole world is open for your products and services. It's as simple as that, right? Clear so far, everyone? Any questions?
Clear, sir.
Political situation, trade barriers, like I mentioned, this is a point which I already discussed before. So again, more and more countries are becoming open to foreign trade, all right? And global technical standards in certain types of products and services also allows products to be more standardized, right? For example, think of industrial inputs which are used to make tech products, like microchips, like memory chips, like AMOLED screens, these sort of things. এই জিনিসগুলি কি কান্ট্রি টু কান্ট্রি খুব বেশি ভ্যারি করে? Is microchip something which is different in Bangladesh and in Brazil and in America? যেই ধরনের inputs গুলি দিয়ে প্রোডাক্ট বানানো হয়, those are becoming more standardized as well. So naturally, that allows the companies to have a network of production centers around the world, right? So একই ধরনের জিনিস দিয়ে পৃথিবীর সব ধরনের টেক প্রোডাক্টসই বানানো হয়। You can have production centers at any country of the world if you have the other factors of production available, if you have the right type of infrastructure. Obviously, when I say any country of the world, that does not mean companies will easily shift to an African country. That's not going to happen, right? Africa is the least industrialized continent in the world. Why do you think that is? I have discussed this last class as well. There is cheap labor, but foreign companies don't move to Africa. Why? Apple does not manufacture in Ethiopia. They are starting to manufacture in India. Why India and why not Ethiopia?
Like, sir, quality is an essential part.
Right, obviously
Skills of labor, sir.
there is
For balance between the cheap cost and quality.
correct. All of you are correct. So obviously এখন ইথিওপিয়াতে ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচারাল ফ্যাসিলিটি নাই, স্কিল লেবার ফোর্স নাই। আফ্রিকাতে ইন জেনারেল পলিটিক্যাল স্টেবিলিটি নাই। So obviously Apple will not go and invest in a country like Ethiopia or South Sudan or Uganda or Tanzania. Right? Just cheap labor is not good enough. You need to have the right kind of facilities as well. So পলিটিক্যাল সিচুয়েশনের মধ্যে দুইটা জিনিস, একটা হচ্ছে স্ট্যান্ডার্ডাইজড ইনপুটস, স্ট্যান্ডার্ডাইজড মেকানিজমস, স্ট্যান্ডার্ডাইজড bookkeeping, accounting norms are similar around the world. Finance related aspects are similar around the world. So naturally, it becomes easier for companies to manage a global network of operations. Right? যে জিনিসটা হয়তো 50 বছর আগে ছিল না। Different countries used to follow different types of technical standards. So WTO আসার পরে, World Trade Organization আসার পরে, more and more similarities, steps have been taken to create similarities in different types of technical standards as well, and to remove trade barriers such as tariffs and quotas as much as possible. So এই জিনিসটা chapter 6 এ গিয়ে, chapter 7 এ গিয়ে we are going to discuss in much more detail. This is where I just give you an overview about the changing global trade picture. Therefore, when we discuss chapter 6, we are going to get into the details of what the WTO does, how the trade barriers are decreasing, so on and so forth. Right. Cross-national cooperation has also increased, right? More and more countries which are located in a similar region. Again, এই জিনিসটা আবার chapter 9 এ গিয়ে we are going to discuss in further detail. So chapter 1 basically gives you an overview about all the different contents that we are going to discuss in the course of the semester. Right? So দেখা যাচ্ছে যে যেই সমস্ত দেশ একটা সিমিলার রিজিয়নে লোকেটেড, একটা পার্টিকুলার রিজিয়নে লোকেটেড এবং যাদের শেয়ার্ড হিস্ট্রি আছে, হেরিটেজ আছে, তারা অনেক বেশি একজন আরেকজনের সাথে ইকোনমিক ইস্যুস রিলেটেড কোঅপারেশন বাড়াচ্ছে। Alright, for example, think of the northeast Indian states such as Assam, such as Tripura. এই ইন্ডিয়ান স্টেটগুলি কি comparatively বাংলাদেশের সাথে বেশি কাছে নাকি they are closer to mainland India, the northeast Indian states?
বাংলাদেশের কাছ থেকে
Definitely the northeast Indian states are closer to Bangladesh, right? So এখন এদের যেই ধরনের এক্সপোর্ট ইম্পোর্ট ট্রেডটা হয়, সেটা যদি তারা মেইনল্যান্ড ইন্ডিয়ার পোর্টগুলি ইউজ করে করতে চায়, সেইটা কি বেশি এক্সপেন্সিভ হবে নাকি কম এক্সপেন্সিভ?
বেশি এক্সপেন্সিভ।
Why?
Mr. Distance, like
Definitely.
longer distance.
Definitely, yes, correct. The states such as Meghalaya, Assam, Tripura, Nagaland, এই সব স্টেটগুলি কিন্তু comparatively বাংলাদেশের অনেক কাছে, right? So the products and services, not services, products which need to be exported to those states or imported to those states comparatively will be cheaper if they are able to use the Bangladeshi ports, right? So যখনই তারা চিটং পোর্ট ইউজ করে তাদের কিন্তু অল দ্য ওয়ে ইন্ডিয়ান পোর্টে গিয়ে তাদের গুডস পাঠানো লাগছে না। এইসব স্টেটে যে ধরনের প্রোডাক্টগুলি তারা বিদেশে এক্সপোর্ট করে সেগুলি তারা চিটং থেকে পাঠাতে পারে, আবার তারা যে প্রোডাক্টগুলি ইম্পোর্ট করে সেগুলি আবার তারা চিটাগং পোর্ট ইউজ করে ইম্পোর্ট করতে পারে। দ্যাট লিডস টু হোয়াট? দ্যাট লিডস টু গ্রেটার কনভিনিয়েন্স ফর দ্য governments of these states and the people of these states. Are you guys with me? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So obviously this is what? Cooperation from the Bangladeshi government, right? The Bangladeshi government has facilitated this agreement so that these states can have easier access to their products and services, have cheaper access to their products which they're exporting and importing. At the same time, this is providing us with reciprocal advantage as well. Reciprocity wordটার মানে do any of you know?
Sir, a situation I probably mean করছে two parties getting benefited from each other.
Correct. Very good. Right. So do you know that Bangladeshi FMCG products from brands such as Square and Tran are extremely popular in those Indian states, and they have made it easier for the Bangladeshi FMCG companies to sell their products in those states? কারণ কি? কারণ হচ্ছে যে ইন্ডিয়ান যেসব কোম্পানিরা এই জিনিসগুলি প্রডিউস করে, অবভিয়াসলি ইন্ডিয়ান ব্র্যান্ডের জিনিসও সবই পাওয়া যায় এই স্টেটগুলিতে, রাইট? বাট ইট ইজ গোয়িং টু বি হোয়াট? Relatively less accessible because অথবা it might be slightly more expensive because যখন mainland India থেকে এত দূর থেকে এই northeast, you can see if you look at the Indian map you'll see that the northeastern Indian states are slightly isolated from mainland India. Have any of you noticed this? Since Bangladesh মাঝখানে, Bangladesh is right in the middle of this, right? So obviously এখানে এই স্টেটগুলি বাকি ইন্ডিয়ার থেকে কিছুটা আইসোলেটেড, so obviously transportation is not very simple from the rest of India to these states. So naturally এখানে বাংলাদেশি কোম্পানিরা they have explored a huge market for their products in these states, and they have made it somewhat easier for the Bangladeshi companies to sell FMCG products in these states as well. Of course, you can see reciprocity here. We are allowing these Indian states to use our port, and they are allowing our companies and our brands to sell their products in these states. Right? Makes sense? So
Yes,
there
sir.
is an exchange of benefits between India and Bangladesh. This is leading to greater sales for the Bangladeshi companies. হয়তো এই মার্কেটটা এত ইজিলি তারা অ্যাক্সেস করতে পারতো না যদি আমরা পোর্ট ইউজ করার সুবিধাটা তাদেরকে না দিতাম। মেবি করতে পারতো, বাট হয়তো ট্যাক্স দিয়ে বা ট্যারিফ দিয়ে বা অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেটিভ পলিসি, বিভিন্ন ধরনের bureaucratic hurdles দিয়ে জিনিসটাকে আরো কমপ্লিকেটেড রাখতো ইন্ডিয়া। But since we have allowed them to use our port, they have also opened up their market to us. Makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Clear so far? So this is a summary slide. All right, I have already discussed all the factors that are here. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can read this slide, guys. Read this slide. This is a summary slide of the factors that I just discussed. If any of you have any questions, I'll discuss this. Otherwise, I will move on. All right, there is nothing new here in this slide. So go through it, see if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll go forward. So, Brian, if you have any questions, these are things which I have already discussed. Do any of you have any questions?
No, sir.
No, sir.
There's nothing new
স্যার
here.
পড়া রিলেটেড না স্যার, স্লাইডটা কি স্যার আজকে আপলোড করে দিবেন?
Yes, I'll upload.
ওকে স্যার,
Check learning resources. I'll upload all the slides in learning resources.
ওকে স্যার।
Mutasim Rahman. Mutasim Rahman.
Present, sir.
Mumtaz Rahman.
Present, sir.
Hamim Nasmus. Hamim Nasmus. Shihabul Islam.
Present, sir.
Monirul Islam. Deals with the difference in opinion among the supporters of globalization and among the critics of globalization. All right, so globalization is something which is a very controversial topic, right? There are obvious benefits which arise from globalization, and there obviously are some downsides. There are some disadvantages or downsides, whatever you call it, from globalization as well. All of you can hear me clearly, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
some groups have very obvious benefits from the rise in globalization, from similar types of products and services being used around the world. Especially people in the business community, investors have very obvious benefits. On the other hand, there are certain groups who have been negatively affected because of globalization as well. All right. So, there are two groups and there are two schools of thought, or there are two different ways to interpret the benefits and the disadvantages of globalization. All right, so for example, the first factor through which the supporters and the critics have divided opinion or have different opinions is through the factor of